Was there any way to avoid this? So I do think there was. So let's go to the beginning of this video.
Back all the way out of here.
Let's go to the beginning. All right. So there's a domestic dispute. Let's listen in.
We see another example that getting involved in a domestic, I mean, as a police officer, you're going to have to do.
I disagree with what they say in this video, which I think will make for an interesting video reaction. And the comments also, 95% of them disagree with what they say, and also they think there was no need to shoot the guy.
Yeah, but it is
or have it escalate to such a degree where they had to shoot
bad
the guy.
news. Actually, our live-in boyfriend and girlfriend at this apartment, and he.
So it's his house. She's living there as well. And he's kicking her out.
He kicked her out, pushed her out the front door. She called the cops. She said he went and threw her keys and told her to get the F out. You're going to hear all that here in a minute. She said she needed to go back in and get some stuff.
So she called the cops because she needed to go get back in to get some stuff. One could say that, maybe she could have waited until the guy calmed down a bit. She had the key to the car, I think. Pick up the stuff tomorrow. Let's see.
So they are going to enter with her as a civil standby and to talk to this guy about the domestic. I'm going to let you listen to their entire interaction. It's a bit long, but I think it's really worth listening to.
He's a vet.
So let's listen in.
Intoxicated.
Trae.
Yeah, let's check it out.
Casper, PD.
She has
In
purple
here.
hair. Not that it matters, but she points to the wall. I think this is important. There is some blood on the wall. She points to the wall in front of the cops, so they pay attention to it. Keeps pointing at it. Keeps pointing at it. She really wants the cops to notice the blood on the wall.
What is that?
Not providing any context, so the cops start asking, what is that for?
Looks like blood.
Looks like blood, so she's like curious, like she hasn't noticed it before. I don't know if it's from me or not. Is she bleeding? I don't know if it's from me or not. Which kind of puts the idea in their head that she might be bleeding. I don't think so. Maybe from him.
I don't know if it's from me or not.
Do you have a reason to think you're bleeding anywhere? Did he cut you? Did he...
I don't think so.
This is where the cop should have asked, like, do you have any blood on you? Like, you can check her a little bit, but okay, let's go. With flashlights coming into the house.
Is that there?
He's out
Is
there.
that her? He's got a rifle sitting next to him.
So let's see where the rifle is.
What's going on?
I mean, he's allowed to have a gun there.
He's got a rifle sitting next to him.
So right now, he's sitting and there's a rifle next to him. But it doesn't escalate. They do not start yelling and like, put your hands up. Nothing like that is happening. They're stepping back, allowing him to come into the apartment.
What's going on? Yeah, well, she was safe.
I'm also part of the lease owner.
He seems calm.
I know,
Trespassing.
but we have to.
You're trespassing, so I could shoot you.
Shoot you.
No,
No, you couldn't. We had permission to do
couldn't.
it.
I don't care. Death by cop doesn't sound too bad. But what do you want?
So he is clearly having an attitude. Like, I'm not blind. Yeah, the cops realize he has an attitude. He's upset. Well, you get called to a domestic dispute.
what happened?
I told her to get the fuck out.
Okay.
And so I pushed her the fuck out. She went.
And that's it. He said he pushed her out. that's enough reason for them to arrest him, because then that's assault. That's it. So here, they should have probably said, well, we need to take you back to the, we will talk about that more. It's half an hour, but like, yeah, if you already know that this is it, like that alone is enough for you to book him, then you should just be straightforward with him and say, well, okay, maybe you don't want him to stand there near the gun. Let's see.
Fucking leave.
Okay. Can you step in here?
No.
Can you step in here away from the rifle so that we can talk?
Go ahead.
It's behind me. What do you want?
Yeah, like 3 steps behind you.
Yeah.
That's plenty of time for you to draw and fucking shoot me in the fucking back. Yeah, that is exactly what will happen at the end. I'm not going to show that he's getting shot, but okay.
Law enforcement.
Okay.
That's plenty of time for you, Joey.
So-
She just wants to know how she can
We
get
came
back.
in here.
Dogs are not aggressive, so that to me is also a sign that the owner is probably not extremely aggressive, because dogs kind of pick up on that and are aggressive towards strangers and stuff like that.
Here.
Motel 6.
And she told us that she is going to.
She's grabbing his drink, so this was not a reason to shoot him, right?
Copy.
I'm listening. Calm down.
That she's going to come in here and get her stuff.
He notices that the cops are on edge.
So we had to come in here to make sure she was safe, because she's alleging that you were pushing her and could be
No, I
fucking with
pushed
her.
her out that fucking door.
You pushed her out the door?
Yeah, 100% did.
Okay, why?
I'm tired of her shit. I'm tired of the bullshit. I'm tired of everything. Told her to get the fuck out. She was leaving anyways. She fucking
Okay.
screamed at me, so I could put her out that fucking door. It's not even like she pays for this fucking place. She might be on the fucking lease, but I pay for everything.
Okay.
And the problem is, if she's on the lease, even if you pay for everything, she's officially living there. You can't that easily kick her out. You need to get her off the lease.
Well, that doesn't mean anything.
I
to me,
know it
So the cop can explain this to him.
but she
doesn't
lives
legally.
here.
I don't really give a fuck either.
It doesn't matter that you don't give a fuck. At the end of the day, we're cops. We need to follow the law, and you can't kick her out like that.
Okay.
Does she have a place to stay? Maybe she can go and stay with a friend, so you guys can calm down. You can calm down.
Okay. So you pushed her like.
Yeah,
Both
pushed her
hands
out the
pushed
fucking
her?
door, yeah. Then
Did you
her-
knock her over when you pushed her?
No, she stumbled. I picked her back up, and I put her out the door.
She's.
So that sounds like it wasn't like a huge altercation, right? He did push her out of the door, but she was falling, and then he prevented her from falling on the
Stumbled
ground.
and fell on the ground.
Well, she didn't fall on the ground. I grabbed her before she fell.
Okay. She stumbled after you pushed her, though.
So the cop here is kind of, she stumbled after, yeah. If you get pushed, you might stumble, yeah. So he's trying to learn more about how hard he pushed her. But if you're really pushing someone hard, like that doesn't really compute, right? Like you push someone so hard, if you can't push someone too hard if you can also prevent them from falling. It's kind of difficult because, I mean, it's just physics, right? You can't, trust me, you can't push someone really hard and also prevent them from stumbling, falling down. That's physically impossible. Because changing, you get what I mean.
She stumbled because she had lost her footing, yes.
Yeah, that can happen. Shouldn't have pushed her. Probably shouldn't have told the police here that he pushed her. Because she has nothing. Should he have lied? Considering what will happen in retrospect, yeah, probably.
Okay. So you guys got an argument? Anything else physical happen?
No? And I saw you inspecting the door. That was long before you guys ever got here. That was when she tried to commit.
So he's now this is interesting to me. This jumped out to me. He noticed her pointing towards the blood on the wall, and he's explaining that it was from a long time ago. That was when she tried to blah blah blah, and they redacted that. So why was she pointing to something that she knew was not something that just happened? That's kind of weird, right? If we believe him, because she didn't think the blood was from her, So she thinks it happened after, when she was outside, and he's explaining, well, no, it's from then, back when this happened. It's kind of weird, huh? To point towards a blood stain on the wall when you know it had nothing to do. You could explain it by saying, well, she's walking into the house and then she knows that the blood kind of jumps out and it's weird, so she's pointing at it because it's kind of awkward. Like, I can't pretend as if I'm not seeing it now. They might ask a question, so why not just point at it? But it's kind of, you're not telling them that it's old. You even say that it could be from you. But you probably would know. It takes some time for the cops to come. Like, if he only pushed her, which is also what she said, there's no reason for her to be bleeding. So that's kind of weird.
I'm not saying that was from. She didn't even said she didn't know what that was from.
Well, she did because I punched that door.
She did because I punched the door before she tried. So I do believe that he's saying that she was trying to Roblox herself or something. Maybe because he was breaking up. And he punched the door, and that's why his fist bled, and that's the blood is coming from that action. But it's from a completely different day, and she didn't notice it. I'm betting, that's my opinion, based on just this video, I'm betting on that she was realizing that it's kind of awkward to walk past the blood stain, but then if you're pointing at it, you can say that's not related to this incident.
That was like a month and a half.
That is quite some time ago. If he's not lying, which I don't think he's lying, because he's providing quite a lot of details on from what happened back when that blood ended up from his fist on that wall. It's really strange for her to point at it and then pretend as if she doesn't know what it's from, because month and a half you've not been there, you've been living there. So if you've seen it for like 45 days, that's kind of odd. You know, the thing that also kind of got to me, like, the dude seems like a nice guy. The dude actually seems like a nice guy. He doesn't take shit. I agree, he doesn't take shit, but yeah, a lot of nice people also don't take shit. Like, if you're nice to them, they'll stay calm and nice. But if you mess with them, yeah, they don't take shit from anyone, not even the cops.
Okay.
Obviously, I would have preferred if he would have just allowed them to arrest him, go to the police station and all of that shit, because he dies within like 26 minutes.
So describe to me what happened, what led up to you pushing her out the door.
I think at this point, everyone is pretty calm. He is calm. She is calm. We don't hear her at all. And he's just explaining what happened.
Me and her got in an argument. I told her to get out. She was already leaving anyway. For her birthday bash, because we had the same birthday. She fucking screamed at me, and I said, I'm tired of this shit, so I pushed her out the fucking door.
So then the question is, what if someone is like constantly screaming at you? Yeah, you're not allowed to push them out of the door. If they keep screaming at you, maybe you need to record it. Or maybe you need to call the police. But yeah, he doesn't want to involve the police.
How hard did you push her?
Not very.
I think that conclusion was already there, right? When he was able to prevent her from falling. And I think here you can also, they probably separate people, but I would probably have her somewhere close and ask her, like, did he push you very hard? Do you want to file charges, press charges?
Not very.
Do you think it was assault? Is she going to claim it was assault? I don't know. You have multiple cops, so one of them can be talking with her now.
How many times did you push her?
Probably like 3.
3 times?
Probably.
She was refusing to leave, so he pushed her away.
And
Just all in the back, or?
These type of details are not going to really help, right? Like, yeah, he pushed her, and it sounds like he's now saying 3 times, but he didn't push her that hard that she fell, because he was able to save her from falling.
Mostly, yeah.
you guys been together?
On and off for like 9 months.
That. Jesus. You lost her life, man. Someone you were with only 9 months. That's nothing.
Okay. How long has she been living here?
We got this lease in November.
So this is in June. So they started living together really quickly. Not so smart.
Okay.
Just
So what
keep
made you decide
dating.
to start?
Just
She's
stay with each other. Have her stay over as a guest. Why put her on the lease?
already leaving the house. Why would
She
you start?
fucking screamed.
Why would you start pushing her in the back?
Because I wanted her to leave. She kept screaming at me. I'm done with this relationship. I don't think you understand that.
No, I understand.
I
that. I
keep
think
telling
that's a
her-
great idea.
And then every time I try to fucking leave her too, or something, some bullshit fucking happens. Trips me. She does fucking something. I don't
He's giving examples of her having done weird shit, but they're redacting it.
believe this shit.
Seems calm, man.
I really don't.
At this point, there's no reason, I think, to think that he's going to grab the gun. But it does sound like he probably is not going to be okay with being arrested, right? I think that is pretty clear. So you have to make a decision. Him pushing her, was that enough to book him? If that is the case, then you have to just explain to him, like, dude, yeah, they consider it battery, so you have to go to the police station. I need to book you. I don't want to, but I have to. It is just the way it is. I have to follow procedures. You're not denying that you pushed her. Pushing someone is considered assault. And then he will say, even if someone is screaming at you, yes, even if someone is screaming at you.
All this is the same shit with her. I'm fucking tired. I go to work. I come home. Today, I went to work at fucking 7 a.m. Came home. It was perfectly fucking fine. She went to the fucking beach with good fucking time. Cool. I didn't want to
So she's not working and not paying any rent or anything.
talk. She keeps asking me stupid fucking questions. I'm done tired of asking them. I told her I'm just fucking done with this shit. She fucking was like, cool, I'm leaving, whatever. She screamed at me. I screamed at her. She screamed at me again. I told her to get the fuck out.
Okay.
Yeah, stupid. Don't scream,
And then
people.
you start pushing her out the door.
Yeah.
Okay.
End
Anything-
story. I pushed her out the fucking door, gave her her shit, went downstairs, gave her fucking other car keys, so she had all her car keys.
I think from her perspective, I don't know what belongings she really needed. It sounds, I mean, it would have probably worked out if she just came back tomorrow to pick up her stuff. She had the car.
I didn't know if she had hers or not. Called it good.
The dogs
And I
seem
watched
so
you guys
sweet.
pull fucking up and everything fucking else.
The dogs are
I'm
allowed to
not
get
going
on the
to jail. I
couch.
hope you know that.
No, here's the disconnect.
Like,
What does that mean?
I'm just letting you know I'm not going to jail tonight.
So he's drawing a line and he's just saying, I'm not going to jail tonight. So the cop has made a decision that he needs to go to jail tonight because he admitted to having pushed her. And now the guy is still calm. But yeah, you now need to explain to him that you have to arrest him because he admitted to pushing her, and that is considered assault. So that's what you need. Like, that is the only thing you need to talk about from this point on forward. The only thing you need to talk about is, like, you need to try to explain to the guy, like, I get that you are drawing a line and saying I can't be arrested, but we need to follow procedure. And you know that if you're not going to listen and you're going to work against us or whatever, it will just escalate and you will get more charges. We don't want you to get more charges, dude.
That's what that fucking rifle's there. I'm not going to.
And that comment, this is the sentence that ended up escalating things. So I'm not going to fucking jail tonight, either by death by cop or not. So you have to kill me, I'm not going.
Fucking jail tonight. Either I've been in plenty of firefights in my fucking life. I'm not
He's a
I'm
veteran.
afraid of another one. Point being is I'm not fucking going to jail tonight. Refuse to. Take that as you will.
352 lost you.
Can you just step inside here so that we can
No.
finish our conversation?
We were talking perfectly fine.
Door code is
You just said you're gonna fucking shoot me.
I didn't say I was going to shoot you. I said
If you're going to try to arrest him, he's saying, yeah, death by cop, then I will. If I have to, if you force me, I'd rather die than go to jail. At that point, you just want, everything needs to go into de-escalation. Because you want to arrest him. I've read comments where people say, like, you could just leave and then arrest him at a different moment.
I wasn't going to jail. You can take implications.
said if
you
you're gonna
want,
go to
and that's
jail,
what the video camera
So
shows
you're gonna
too.
fucking shoot us.
I didn't say you were going to.
He didn't
Shoot you?
literally said that he would shoot you. He said, I'm not going to jail. So he's basically saying, it's, if you guys don't arrest me, nobody's getting shot. I'm just not going to jail. I'm not okay with going to jail.
If I want to shoot you, I could have picked all three of you off in this fucking balcony.
I have to
I can
admit,
hit a fucking on Ironsides. I can hit a fucking paper target from 300 fucking meters away.
something tells me that he's not lying. Like, he's probably really good at shooting. He's seen some shit.
If I wanted to kill you guys, it would have already been fucking done.
So the only point he's trying to make in here, and I get that from their perspective, this sounds aggressive. The point he's making is like, if I really wanted to kill you, I could have done that when you were walking towards the building because, yeah, I'm a veteran. I have a lot of experience. I'm really good at shooting, even with an iron sight. So no scope. So I get that this is, for them, this sounds like it's being escalated. But he's saying like, no, I actually don't want to shoot you. I'm just telling you I'm not going to prison or I'm not going to jail.
You walked out your fucking car when you guys all showed up in the convoy. I didn't say I was.
You want to turn it into a friendly conversation at this point. You don't want it to escalate. So you can try to explain to him why you shouldn't say those things.
Gonna shoot you.
Just say, hey, dude, stop talking about shooting when there's a gun so close to you.
Said I'm not going to jail.
Death by cop, he also said, admittedly.
Okay. Can you step inside?
So at this point, I think he also realizes they want to arrest me and he doesn't want to step inside.
I'm right here.
There is one thing that I will not, like this case has not been haunting me like the war crimes that I've seen in the last 1.5 years. But this case has been on my mind. Like I've thought about this case many times after it happened, after I watched this video. It makes you realize something. Because at the end of the day, yes, he did push her. She's fine. She's fine. Didn't have to end with him being shot.
Yeah, but can you step inside,
No, I'm
So what is...
stepping
away
Let
from
me
the
show
gun so
you.
that we can finish the conversation?
We are finishing the conversation. We are talking right now. And the gun's 3 foot up behind me. He can grab his pistol. She can grab her pistol. Faster.
Yeah, but he is putting them on edge by saying this, right? But what will happen, you will see that, is he will step inside if they move back.
So, you're not.
Which automatically means that if they just move back, and go out of the apartment, no one is getting shot, everything will be fine. But for them, based on the push, that is a reason to arrest him. He doesn't want to get arrested. He doesn't feel like that is enough to get arrested. They have the authority probably to arrest him. But they could probably leave and arrest him at a different moment as well to prevent this from being escalating. Because he does not sound like someone that will shoot at you from the balcony when you leave. Just doesn't sound like that.
Ain't any danger right now. If I walk backwards and grab that motherfucker, see, look at that, You're
They
fine.
all probably started holding their gun.
You have your hand on your fucking pistol, you'll be fine. Calm down.
Okay. So are you gonna step inside so that we can finish the
Mm.
conversation?
No. We are talking perfectly fine right now. If she grabs her shit,
So the disconnect here is like, hey, we want to arrest you. Don't go. Like, you need to just talk about the fact that you feel like you have to follow procedure, so you have to arrest him, and that by cop is stupid. You don't want to do that. You know,
She goes out the door. You guys go with her, like you just stated. Then we're
I do believe that when there's like 3 cops standing there, if one guy is not getting through to him, someone else should try to calm him down. He seems calm, but like to explain to him that the arrest has to happen.
perfectly fine. Your life's not in danger. My life's not in danger. No one's life's in danger. I don't deal with this shit.
Are you not gonna step inside for me?
No. I just told you that multiple times. You're
That's not working, right? When you're there as another cop and you see that your partner is like not getting through to him and asking the same question, it's not working. He doesn't have the skills. So in the previous video that I did with the dentist and the documentation, that's a completely different case, right? Didn't need to escalate, and that person didn't have any de-escalation skills. Here we're talking about someone that has a gun relatively close to him, that has said that by cop, blah blah blah. So yeah, you need to kind of step up, and then it's speculation that talking to him in a different way might have worked.
keep asking me. I'm gonna keep telling you the same answer.
Okay, because I want to avoid
Okay.
what you're talking about with your fucking rifle.
My rifle's just sitting there.
Yeah, I know it
I'm
is.
allowed to have it right there.
Okay.
This is not.
So you want to redirect the conversation. You don't want to talk about the gun. You want to talk about, hey, I do need to arrest you. I guess he doesn't want to say that maybe because he's just too close to his gun.
A fucking gun state?
Okay, but you don't
pretty
understand
fucking
why I'm concerned that you just talked
You
about
tell me
having a
that you're
shootout with
concerned about
cops.
that. Listen here. I did 2 fucking deployments overseas. I understand that. I understand about the whole fucking
Okay.
ass show, whole bunch of bullshit.
Just I don't
right?
want to shoot anybody. Right?
Okay, cool. You're there. I'm here. We're perfectly fine having a civil conversation. Are we not? Are we not having a civil conversation right
Sure.
now? Okay. You're the one escalating this right now.
I'm not escalating. You're the one that brought up having a shootout with cops.
No, I didn't say I was shooting. I said I'm not going to jail. That's all I said. If you want to encourage,
He did say death by
I'm
cop.
not going to jail, or I will shoot it out with cops.
I did not say or
Death by cop, yeah.
shoot it out with cops. Never shooting
Yeah,
at
oh,
cops.
sorry, a gunfight.
I never said a gunfight. I said
Death by cop.
I'm not afraid of getting a gunfight. I've been plenty of them. Did never say I was going to shoot a cop. Those words never came out of my mouth. That camera right there, and right there, and right there. Actually, yours is not on, but yours too. Oh,
It's a new one.
okay. Well, all 3 of your cameras will show that.
So this small tangent with the cameras, and then he's telling her like your camera is not on, and she's like it's a new one, and he's like, oh, okay. To me, it's an indication that you can redirect the conversation to something different.
Those words never came out of my mouth to shoot a cop. Ever.
The focus should now turn really into, at a certain point, you need to talk to him about that he needs to be booked, like you have to arrest him. And then how do you make him accept that it is just something he has to deal with?
Okay, have a shootout, whatever you want to call it.
I didn't say shootout.
But you understand why I'd like you to step inside.
Okay, you guys are there. You're no in danger. I'm not gonna hurt you. She's grabbing her shit. We're all fucking kosher.
Right, the matter here is that there's a rifle 3 foot behind. I understand we have our own.
Right. There's a rifle 3 foot behind me. That is 100.
She's now talking to him. We'd prefer it if stepped inside. Talk to us cordially, work this out. That's 100% understandable. We're just trying to handle this civilly. So she's doing a better job getting to him.
Just understand.
Step inside, talk to us cordially.
We're just trying to handle this.
This cop should not try again. He's not getting through to him. She was doing a better job.
Civilly.
Right, which we are. She's grabbing her stuff. You ask about what happened. I told you what happened. You ask about the rest of the events.
Sometimes it helps to have a female talk to the guy. It is what it is. Sometimes it helps. Sometimes women can more easily get to some guy's head.
I said I watched you guys pull up. There was nothing that wasn't civil about this, was there?
Okay, but why won't you step inside for me?
Because I'm not gonna get close to you guys. Because I can't win a 3-on-1 scenario. That ain't happening.
Who's talking about winning a 3-on-1?
Well, there's 3 of you all right there. If you want to back up, I'll step inside the door. But I'm not stepping inside this door with you 2 foot from me.
Okay, you want to step inside?
You want to step to
and
the
close the
bookcase?
screen door for me?
There's,
The sliding glass door.
I'm not closing the sliding glass. If you want to step to the bookshelf, I will step inside, and we are both in agreement.
What bookshelf?
The one bookshelf is behind you. There's 4 of them. You want to step back there? I will step
Step inside.
He wants distance because he doesn't want them to jump him. Because there's 3 of them and he can't.
Look at that. Look at that. All right.
Appreciate you. Thank
So this shows that he's willing to compromise, but he wants you to compromise as well. So this literally means that if you take one more step backwards, he will step one more step into the apartment.
Okay. So the issue is,
To me, honestly, to me, this is an indication, when he makes this compromise, to me, this is an indication that he can be reasonable, and you just need to do your best.
she said you were shoving her, shoved her to the ground.
I pushed her. I didn't push her to the ground.
Yeah, you shoved her to the ground. That's kind of messed up. That is not what he said. He pushed her outside, saying he shoved her to the ground. It's kind of messed up. Tells us something about how you perceive his words, like you're turning it into something else. That is kind of messed up. This cop should not be talking with him. Period. Period. He needs to be educated on how to de-escalate. Why would you say something else than he said? Turn it into something worse than what he was trying to explain to you. That works against you. That is stupid. That's the opposite of de-escalation.
Outside that door, I gave her her stuff. I made sure she had all the stuff that she needed. I went downstairs to make sure she had her keys. I gave her her keys, then I went back upstairs.
The fact that he went downstairs, gave her her keys so she could use her car, tells us that he does care, right?
That is what happened. Yes, she screamed at me. I screamed
If he didn't really care, he wouldn't have given her her keys.
at her. She screamed at me. I put her out the door. That is what happened. I will refer that again many times over.
I know, but she's saying that you pushed her on the ground. You're admitting that you're pushing her.
Yeah.
He didn't push her on the ground, so he is again lying. He's again lying.
I did not push her
So
on the
that
ground.
is the issue.
So the other 2 cops are probably aware that this cop is like escalating things now by lying about what he did.
Issue at hand now.
Yes, I did push her out the door.
329.
I 100% did that.
Okay. So that's what I'm trying to have you come in here and talk with us about. Without having to fucking shoot.
So he's now, that's what I want you to come in here talking. So this cop again is making, like, I'm watching this now for the 2nd time. I read a lot of comments about this, and trust me, like, if you read the comments, people will say, like, yeah, this was unnecessary. So the cop saying, I want you to come in here so we can talk about this. No, you want him to come in so you can arrest him.
Shoot out.
I'm gonna.
Because you can talk to him for like 48 hours. Like, you can keep talking to him until the end of time. He's not going to grab his gun if you don't try to arrest him. That is the baseline now. You know that as long as you don't try to arrest him, it's not going to escalate. But you're trying to get him closer so you can get him and arrest him. But you don't want him to know that you're arresting him. You know what they want to do? They want to like grab his hand and say, okay, turn around. That's what he's trying to work towards. That moment where he can just grab his hand and say, okay, turn around. He's not allowing you to get to that point. So that is not going to happen. He's made that clear. So it sounds like this officer is not too bright. I have to be very honest. If you know that he has drawn a line and he's saying, that situation will not happen. Telling him to come closer for that situation to happen, like, it's not happening. You have to find another way to get through to him.
Right now, we're talking. And
I know, but some statements were made.
yes, I said I was not going to go to jail.
The statement parts, yeah.
Okay, otherwise you're going to have a shootout.
I never said I was going to have a shootout. Again, we are getting to semantics here. I never said that. I'm not going to put those words in my mouth. Let's go.
Okay, well, something to that effect. I don't remember the exact words.
Okay.
Okay.
You also didn't know the exact words when multiple times he explained that he pushed her out, not towards the ground. But the cop did try to turn it into pushing to the ground. So at this point, if she's still there, because we do not hear her, and also when he gets shot, we do not hear her scream. Is she still in the house? I think so. I don't know for a fact. What I do know is that if you are there and the cops are talking like this with him, you would try to get involved. If you care about that person, you would try to get involved. You would say, hey, guys, I don't want this to escalate. And then ask them, what do you want? Does she want him to be arrested for that push, for the 3 pushes and pushing her outside of the apartment? Does she want him to be arrested for that? Because if she's going to say, hey, you don't need to arrest him, I'm packing my stuff, I'm leaving. She's not paying anything for that apartment, right? So it's like, you will eventually get kicked out, right? Even if you're on the lease, if you're not paying, he will be able to get you off the lease. So all you can do is like postpone or delay how long it will take until you get kicked out. Make it difficult, but at the end of the day, I mean, he could go and rent a different apartment. You could, maybe she can force him to, like, it's not working out. You're breaking up. He's kicking you out. You're not paying for the apartment. So probably best to just say, you know what, guys, let it go. I'm grabbing my stuff. I'm leaving. If you guys can stay like for like 15 minutes, I can grab everything I need. Some stuff maybe I will pick up later. He doesn't seem dangerous to me. It doesn't sound like he's going to hurt her in any way. He did push her out, but like if she's coming back to just grab her stuff again, if she's grabbing her stuff and leaving, he's probably not going to be that difficult because, yeah, he seems calm. He doesn't seem aggressive, but he just doesn't take shit from people.
I'd like if you could work
So
with
like
me.
some people cannot tolerate someone screaming at them, and I have to admit I can't tolerate that either.
I'm very much trying to. That's why I came in the door. You
And
backed up.
step in further away from the guy.
Right, which you wanted me to step inside, which I did. Did I not? Did I not? Did I not meet you halfway? You
Yeah,
went
you took
backwards, I
one
came in.
step forward.
So yeah, he's now involving the other cops. It is true. He compromised.
Which I am inside the door.
Yeah. The
Okay.
door's still open.
Yes, the door's still open.
Okay. Can you work with me one step further and close the door?
I will close it halfway. I'll give you that. I will give you that much.
So at this point, to be very honest, he has no weapon. If the cop should be fast enough to be able to reach him before he can get to the gun. But okay.
Okay.
So he's making another compromise even though the cop is not moving backwards more. So what does that tell us? It tells us that he is still willing to make a compromise, right?
Okay. Well, like I said, the issue at hand
Is that I pushed her out the
is that
door?
you're pushing her out the door.
I understand that.
Right. Okay.
Okay, but then now just explain to him, we do need to arrest you. Just
So it's not a huge deal. Like she doesn't have any crazy
it's
marks on
not
her.
it's not a huge deal. Okay, so maybe this is his only attempt. So this is on camera as well. It's not a huge deal. Like she doesn't have any crazy marks on her, not any marks on her at all. It is technically a domestic assault. Fine.
Or anything,
Okay.
but it is technically a domestic assault.
I'm trying to understand.
Okay, so when he says he understands, you need to explain to him when there is domestic assault and they are called to the scene, that they do not have any other option than to book him and bringing him to the police station and say, this is just procedure, my dude. We have to follow procedure. You understand that it's domestic assault. And when something is domestic assault, we have to take you to the police station. And then what you can do and try to talk about is like, what do you need from us so you can come to the police station? Maybe he needs reassurance that she's not getting into the apartment when he's not there. Like talk about that type of thing, you know? I don't know.
Copy.
Okay.
But when he says he understands that it's domestic assault, you should be able to convince him, if you say the right things, that he's going to have to come to the police station.
So you understand that we have to do our jobs,
I understand that.
right?
So even that he understands, right? He understands it's assault. He understands that they have to do their job. So now all you need to explain is, we need to arrest you and take you to the office.
Okay. So I'm trying to handle this as peacefully as possible.
And I am too. I'm meeting you halfway. Am I not? I'm not done mostly two of the requests you asked. You asked me to walk in the door, I said walk in the door. You step backwards, we said cool. You asked me to shut the door, I shut the door halfway. I'm meeting you halfway here. Quite literally halfway.
Okay.
Am I not?
But I'm explaining to you
Yes.
that we have to do our jobs.
And I'm
So again, you need to explain that you need to book him. You're not saying that part.
explaining what
And I'm trying to make it not just safe for us, safe for you
And I think I'm pretty
to do
safe
our
with it.
jobs. Because I just told you, you did just admit,
That I pushed
to
you out
it.
the door. Yes.
which is a domestic assault.
Okay.
Okay?
She is still in the apartment.
Yeah.
So
I guess she was just busy with packing her stuff.
we have to deal with that.
I do find it really important to hear from that other person if she really wants him to be arrested for that push.
Further.
But I do know that sometimes they have this law where even if that other person says, yeah, you don't need to arrest them, they will arrest that person regardless.
Okay? And I'd like to do it
Feel bad for the dogs.
after you close the door.
Because you're gonna try to put me in handcuffs. Correct? Domestic assault?
Because
Correct?
I don't want
No, am I correct?
this to escalate. I'd like to do it
So he's now asking, you want to put me in handcuffs?
after you close the door.
Because you're gonna try to put me in handcuffs. Correct?
Just admit, yeah.
Domestic assault?
Yeah. Just say, yeah, man, it is what it is. So, is there an expectation that he will run towards the gun just because he says, yes?
Because I don't want.
I know he runs out towards the gun and they kill him. They shoot him in his back.
want
No, am I correct?
this to escalate further.
Right. So,
He's just asking a question. Yeah, just say yes. If I'm wrong, right. So technically, next step, domestic assault, if I'm wrong, is you put me in handcuffs, take me down to jail, and you process me.
technically, next steps, domestic assault, if I'm wrong, is you put me in handcuffs, you take me to the down jail, and you process me. Fingerprints, you do everything.
Fingerprints are real. Am I correct? Say yes.
Am I correct? Am I
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have established this now.
You're
correct?
correct.
Next steps.
Okay. So we have established that you have to do that as a cop.
Okay, cool.
Okay?
Okay, cool. You have to, yeah, okay. Let's see. So this is it. I will not show them shooting.
So turn around for me.
So he's just asking him now to turn around for me.
No, I'm not.
Put your hands behind your back.
Put your hands behind your back. God, I hate this video. So what went wrong here? I'm really trying to work, like, I want the video to be useful, just in case a cop is watching it. When you establish this, you just established this. He now knows you need to arrest him, right? When you establish that, it doesn't mean that you immediately, like you've been talking to him for like 15 minutes. Why not spend 5 more minutes talking about this instead of saying, turn around, put your hands behind your back? You just established this with him. So he seems to understand that this is what you have to do and this is what you want to do, right? It switches to the 3 cameras because it's going to show how he's going to get killed running outside. But I think this is the biggest mistake that they made. Looking at it now again, taking my time to really review it, when you establish that you need to arrest him, I think that cop has this idea of, when I tell him that he's arrested, that's it. I need to arrest him. That's it. But man, things are not that black and white. I mean, apparently they are, because he's dead. But why not talk about this a bit more? If he's able to process this, he's reached a position now where he's not getting violent, he's not running towards the gun. He understands that you need to arrest him. He doesn't agree with being arrested. So you can work with him on that. You can try. You don't want to kill the guy. He seems like a chill guy.
No.
Step this way.
So when you say multiple times, step this way, turn around, the other guy has his taser. Tasers are not always effective. So if you shoot your taser, there's a risk of him still be able to run to get his gun. But if you say multiple times, step this way, turn around, you see that that is not working. Go back to plan B. Don't automatically escalate. This is it, guys. So at this point, when I know, sometimes it makes me annoyed that I have to like add a lot of disclaimers. The big disclaimer here is when he's putting his hand on that door because he feels like you're escalating it to a point where you're going to arrest him, talk him out of it. Move back. Move back. I would move back, because that probably calms him down. You open your hand, your right hand, or maybe you want your gun to be there. You use your left hand. Say, hey, calm down. Calm down. Step back. When you know that there is this dynamic of you moving backwards, him being more calm and reassured that it's not escalating, you can use that to your advantage. Step back a bit. Say, wait, relax. I would probably say stuff like, listen, we're not in a hurry now. We're going to take our time. We do need to arrest you. You seem to understand that we need to arrest you. And I know you've said that death by cop or whatever. I don't want to think about that stuff. Let's leave that where it was. I don't think you want death by cop, because that's not fair even to us. Why would we want that? We have to follow procedure. You'll get booked. It's not a serious thing. It's like a misdemeanor or whatever. Tell him how short he will probably stay in jail. You will get out tomorrow. You'll be calm. This relationship, she's leaving, right? She agreed to leave, right? Talk about the future where she's not with her anymore. Like, that is one of the things that you can really zoom in on, right? Say, dude, listen, you want to get out of this relationship. You guys are parting ways. She wants to grab her stuff. She's going to leave. You're going to be on your own. You'll be fine. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. So what happens here is that their reaction is the taser is going to be pointed at him. Yeah, which makes him feel like you're going to tase me, so then I can't fight. So he's going to run.
Okay,
He's opening the door already.
you're gonna get.
And this is it.
You're gonna get.
So he gets shot. So he gets tased. I do believe that if I look at the bottom camera, It's not perfectly aligned with the top left. It kind of looks like he's falling. So I'm going to, you don't really see the shots hitting his body. Going to set this to 0.25 speed. We're going to watch this in slow motion. So he did fall. If we look at the bottom one, the taser did seem to work. Top right, we can see the cop with the taser running out. You're going to get tasered. They said they tased him. I do think that it was successful. Yeah, and from here they just shoot him in his back. I was trying to watch the footage because they know where the gun is. So I was trying to watch the footage to figure out where the gun is. It feels like when I looked at it, it feels like like they could see that he couldn't reach the gun, but I get, maybe I'm seeing it wrong. That's the girl, she's there. He gets shot, he's already shot. So I'm going to, we do not hear her scream, nothing.
365, shots fired, shots fired.
He's dying.
Copy, 202.
So now we can hear someone picking up the gun.
Get that gun away from him.
Wait for it.
365, do you know where they're coming from?
That's
It's
the
me,
gun.
I shot the suspect. No.
365,
Let me
do you know
go
where they're
back.
coming from?
He dropped the gun. Okay, so let's look at it again. He's dropping the gun.
Copy,
He's still moving, so he's not dead
Get that
yet.
gun away from him.
So it was on that chair.
365, do you know where they're coming from?
It's me, I shot the suspect. No, apartment.
No life-saving procedures.
Emergency traffic.
You're still pointing your gun at him when you know he doesn't have any gun. He's not armed. He's just dying now.
On 2.
You killed the guy.
Gun medical over here.
Guy turned around, decided
We're going to react to the guys from ASP.
that he was going to go for the rifle. The officer's taser was partially effective for a moment, but then he grappled back towards the rifle and the officer.
Do we actually see that in this footage? We saw the taser was effective. He fell towards the right. The gun was on the left. When he is tased and falls to the right, they should have enough time to get out, get in the balcony before he can get the gun. Because the taser
Opened fire on.
the taser will keep on sending the electricity, right? So you keep on holding, I don't know,
On him, who initially
not a taser
had
expert.
tased him. And those shots did prove fatal. The officers
She did not scream or anything.
did everything they could as far as medical. You go watch the original, you go read the news stories I've linked in the description, but he did not make it. Oh boy.
Let's listen to what they say, because a lot of people disagree with them.
You know, as a guy who spent 14 years in vocational pastoral ministry, you see stuff like this just at the very beginning, Mike, and you know it's going to go bad.
Yeah, you could. When you sent me this video, and
You know it's going to go bad. At the beginning of the video, they already knew, yep, it's going bad.
I watched it for the first time, I was like, this is definitely not going to end well.
Really? You don't see anything that they could have done better here?
So, Mike, this is just really, it's the kind of outcome we want to avoid if at all possible. Of course, the officers are
Obviously.
here on a civil standby. She has a right to be in the house. She is a tenant of the house as well. So she says, I need help on a civil
Well, now she has to pay the lease. She has to pay the rent, right, on her own. Good luck.
stand by, getting my stuff. They're
You know you want to leave. You know you're going to split up.
investigating a crime of domestic violence. They have every right to be where they are. So the guy says, well, I can shoot you for trespassing. That's hogwash. They have the right to be there. And I think, Mike, they did a pretty darn good job of trying to talk this guy
Yeah, I disagree.
down. I don't really have any critiques of
Yeah, there's a lot of critique there.
that.
Yeah, this
It's kind of messed up to not have any critique of this, to be very honest.
this is one of those scenarios you might get in the academy that you're like, well, this will never happen. This is
So this guy has been a cop, if I'm not mistaken.
too black and white. This is too terrible of a scenario to find yourself in. No, this really happens, and this is evidence of it. This is a kind of a worst case scenario, frankly.
Yeah, like killing the guy is pretty worst case scenario indeed.
There's not a lot of good answers to this. The
It was inevitable.
best you can do is to draw deep from every bit of de-escalation training you've had.
Yeah.
And
there, I do believe that there was definitely some stuff that they could have done better.
try to build some kind of rapport with this guy. But this guy,
When the female cop was talking to him, it felt like he was more open to talking with her.
is just not having it, right?
So there's 3 cops there, and he is the one that is trying to de-escalate is clearly not that good in de-escalation, and also he's just not effective. Maybe he's good, but he's not having a great day, whatever. There's 2 other cops there. If one person is not effective, another cop should step in, which the female officer kind of did, but then it went back to this cop because he wanted to take the lead.
He's not interested in being friendly or friend.
He's not interested in being friendly. Like if this is like really aggressive, I don't know what aggressive then really is. Like he's quite calm, which they will use against him. Wait.
Friends with the police. Almost feel like he's kind of made up his mind what he's going to do at some point. He just hasn't done it yet throughout a lot.
So when you're saying that, you're kind of disregarding the effectiveness of de-escalation in general. The guy has decided that he's compromising. The compromise one is if you step backwards, he will step forward. The other one is he will actually close the door halfway, even if you don't step backwards even more. So he's willing to compromise on his own without getting anything in return. So that tells me that he is open to compromise, right? So I don't know. And you just reached that point where you agreed, like, hey, I need to arrest you. You understand that? He's like, yeah, I get it. Then you just need to spend some time trying to convince him that he will need to be handcuffed and go with you, instead of just immediately saying, hey, turn around. Like, why can't you take some time to talk sense into him at that point? Why can't you keep trying to de-escalate? Why does it feel for the cop as if as soon as I say that I'm going to arrest him, I need to follow through immediately? Is that what they trained him to do? Like, if you tell someone you're going to arrest him, you shouldn't be... Well, the world is gray. It's not black and white. With this guy, even when you have communicated to him that you are going to arrest him, that you need to arrest him, there's no other option. You can still spend some time trying to explain it to him. You know?
Out of this, one could argue this is a suicide by cop. We don't.
No, disagree. So suicide by cop is where you could say that when it turns into this and then the person is like, suicide by cop is like, I want to die and I want the cops to shoot me. This is not a suicide by cop in that aspect. He was not okay with being arrested. And he was willing to die for it. You could say that, but it's not suicide by cop. Like, I want to die. He didn't want to die, but he was willing to die because he was not accepting an arrest.
Don't know. We'll never know. But I think the officers.
We never know. No, purely based on this footage, we know enough to say the guy didn't want to die. If they left, it would have been fine. If you're claiming that it was suicide by cop, then even if the cops were saying like, okay, you know what, we're leaving, it's fine. He would say, no, what do you mean? Take this.
Really did their level best. They really
They did not do this. If this is their best, they're not fit for the job. That's my honest opinion.
tried under. I mean, listen, you tell me.
Is it easy to talk like this for me? You know, I'm not in their shoes. Sure. But doesn't mean that we can't be critical. Like, even in this moment, the gun is there. So it's the stuff that he said that made them scared, right? That made them think like he's going to shoot us. Because at this moment, they know the gun is relatively close to him. But it's the stuff that he said. And the stuff that he said is like, the guy is trying to show you that he doesn't take shit from anyone.
There's a rifle behind this guy. He looks very competent. I don't know if he's ex-military or not, but he certainly has that
Yes, he is a veteran.
sort of bearing.
He said he had multiple deployments, so it's kind of weird to say. I don't know if he's a veteran.
This is a really crap situation to find yourself in. I think they handled themselves pretty well and
No, they didn't really handle themselves really well.
did their best to kind of to bring the guy down a little bit.
No, that was not really good. I have to be very honest. I do believe that a lot of people would have been more effective here.
He just wasn't having any of it.
Why would you say you pushed her to the ground when you know that he said that he pushed her out, and when she was almost falling, that he immediately prevented her from falling? Why would you say that he pushed her to the ground? If he pushed her to the ground, then when you push someone to the ground, you want them to hit the ground. When he explicitly tells you that when she misstepped and was falling and he prevented her from falling on the ground, that is not he pushed her to the ground. He pushed her forward. Why would you say such a thing if you're really doing your best to de-escalate? Because you give him the feeling that you're misrepresenting what happened, what he told you. She didn't even tell you that she was pushed to the ground, as far as we know. So he's like, maybe they're arresting me because they think I pushed her to the ground, but I didn't, and I didn't say that I did. The body cams are running, he knows that as well. So you could also, when you're talking about the arrest, you could tell him, listen, we have to arrest you, but like our body cameras are on. You didn't say that you shoved her to the ground. One of the other cops could have said, wait, he didn't say that he shoved her to the ground. If you do something like that as another cop at the scene, it kind of, if you're pushing back on your colleague in front of him, that's how you build rapport. That's how you get to him. Make him realize like, hey, even though you see 3 cops, we are 3 different individuals with our own perspectives. And I might not even agree with the other cop, right? Sometimes that can help. That is just a fact. If the female cop would have said, hey, you're putting words, like, that's not true. He didn't push her to the ground. And then she can tell him, listen, I know you didn't say you pushed her to the ground. It's not a big deal. We have our body cams on. So that statement you did not make, it's fine. Even if we would claim that you pushed her to the ground or said that you pushed her to the ground, you didn't say it, right? The body cam is running, so yeah, the evidence is there that you didn't say that, so don't worry. It's a minor thing. You know how many people get arrested for pushing someone? Like, is that really the worst thing in the world? It's like a misdemeanor. You'll be out in a couple of hours, or...
He just wasn't. So from a perspective of negotiation, right? I think that this guy is one of the more dangerous. He is
I get where he's coming from with this, but I strongly disagree.
contaminated thinking. He's been drinking. You can see that.
We don't know what he's drinking, but okay. Just having a couple of drinks. He doesn't seem drunk. He seems very controlled.
Kind of sipping on that, whatever that is, that he had some toxicity in his system.
Doesn't mean that he's really drunk. Doesn't seem drunk at all. Seems like someone that is drinking, but like it's his first or second. Doesn't seem like he's drunk at all.
But he is low emotion, non-compliant, and has said, I don't
Low emotion. That jumps out. So the low emotion thing, that is what really makes this scary.
mind dying by cop tonight with low emotion. This is a very dangerous individual. This is the kind of guy that will pull a gun on you to get you to kill him, or will.
I get what he's saying. He's just very much in control. The emotions are there. He's very much in control of his expressions. He's very much aware that it's not effective to be aggressive. So he's trying not to be aggressive. Yes, some of his words can be perceived as somewhat aggressive when he talks about death by cop, or I could have killed you guys when you were walking towards the building and stuff. But that last comment, well, I agree. I can get why that would increase the tension. The reality is that he made that comment to just show off that, like, I'm really good at shooting, blah, 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 which also increases the tension. But he made that comment to make it clear, like, I didn't shoot you guys as you were walking towards the building, because that's not what I want to do. So that on its own is not the biggest thing. The death by cop thing, that was bad. Saying like, hey, I'm not going to jail. If you force me, I'm okay with death by cop. But his calm demeanor doesn't necessarily make him super dangerous. If he was screaming, that to me sounds more dangerous, more unhinged, more uncontrolled.
Go down in a blaze of glory.
So I guess because he's very calm, you might not expect him to go for that gun, but like you have 3 cops looking at him.
So the officers have to
Obviously, they have enough time to shoot him.
recognize that in their discussion. So I think they did a pretty good job, Mike.
They didn't really do it was not a pretty good
of
job.
trying to talk to this
No, disagree.
guy, of trying to give him some off ramps. But remember,
Give him off ramps. No. Again, when they established that they were going to arrest him and he understood that they had to arrest him, that's when they should have done some more work on de-escalation.
you can't de-escalate.
It really feels like as soon as they tell someone that they have to arrest them, if that is confirmed, like, hey, you're going to be arrested, that they feel a pressure of having to do it as fast as possible, because if you're not doing it as fast as possible, you're giving them time to maybe think about how they can run away or do something. Each situation is different. In this case, after that moment, you should have still tried to de-escalate.
I want us to recognize that you cannot de-escalate somebody. They only can de-escalate themselves.
Yeah, but you can try to de-escalate.
Now you can give them off ramps, but I want to talk about maybe a couple of opportunities here, Mike. The first one is maybe asking, as the officer here who's talking, hey, I need a professional crisis negotiator here. And
yeah, they have that option. If you would bring someone else here to negotiate with him, yeah, if you have that option, why not use it?
I want her to get her stuff and saying to this guy, listen, man, we're just going to get her stuff for a minute, and then I'm going to back up a little ways so that you and I can continue to talk, just to give me a little more
move back,
space.
Move back. He will come in more and more, yeah. So you do have an option to get him to move more away from the gun, yeah.
You a little bit.
So here's the thing. The bigger the distance is between him and the gun, so the calculation you have to make is, if he closes the door, the front door, right, and you're outside, then you're in trouble because he can shoot through the door, you can't see through the door. So the calculation here could be, we have to be closer to the door than he is to the door of the apartment. But you can keep moving backwards I get that, that there is a hallway, so the cops then will end up in the hallway or whatever. You can still move backwards. They can all move backwards to let him come in more and more. Why? Well, you tased him. The tase was successful. If the distance between him and the gun is longer, after you tase him and he falls to the ground, you have a better opportunity of apprehending him, right?
More space so that we're not in this close proximity. Because maybe a professional
The problem is not really the proximity between you and him. Like, yeah, that's the thing. Like, he wants more space and then he will move from the gun.
negotiator with some additional tools might have been able to do something. Not faulting this officer for...
Yeah, I do fault the officer for not having de-escalation skills.
For anything that he said or did here.
So you're not going to fault the officer for the fact that he said you pushed her to the ground when he said that he did not. Multiple times he said, I just pushed her out the apartment, and when she was falling, Why can't he agree that that is not cool? If you want to de-escalate, you do not manipulate the words and say something else. That makes you seem subjective and not fair, which makes him feel like they're going to arrest me for the wrong reason because I didn't do that. So there is definitely some valid criticism here. And I'm winging this, right, guys? Like, I'm watching this, I'm winging it. They probably watched it, maybe multiple times, but like they talked to each other, they evaluated it, and they can't think of anything except for like maybe a negotiator. I'm not a cop, so they know that that option does exist. Well, if that option is a good point, yeah. Outside of that, nothing. Nothing.
I'm just saying that sometimes as cops, you know, listen, I've got probable cause of a crime and I have to do here and I have to make an arrest.
The way he's saying this, like I like this guy. I think he's a cool guy. Like, even though I'm glad I don't live somewhere where everyone has guns. He would never live in somewhere where he cannot have his gun with him at all times. I don't feel safe with people with guns around me. I don't think he's probably good at shooting. Like, let me get this straight. Like, I think the guy has a lot of good criticism and feedback. This is one of the videos where he got a lot of pushback in the comments. A lot of people disagreed with him. I might go through the comments as well after this. Let's go.
And maybe that's his department.
What I wanted to say, listen to how he says this.
Did here. I'm just saying that sometimes as cops, you know, listen.
Listen to this.
And I've got probable cause of a crime and I have to do here and I have to make an arrest.
The facial expressions, what he just said, I have a probable cause here. What he just did right there, the tone, everything, let's go back.
For anything that he said or did here.
Just pay attention to his face, what he says, and put yourself in the perspective of the guy standing there in the balcony. I'm not saying that this would have convinced him, but you can hear that this feels more authentic. That this feels like, maybe it's because I kind of know the guy because I've watched so many videos of him, but just listen.
I'm just saying that sometimes as cops, you know, listen, I've got probable cause of a crime and I have to do.
See him emphasizing, I just have probable, the eyebrows, I have to, like, he knows he probably would have done a better job de-escalating this. It can be that nuanced.
Do here and I have to make an arrest. And maybe that's his department policy. But in that case, it's maybe okay to say, man, I'm not going to follow the policy because I don't want to get in a shooting here.
Yeah, because that's almost certainly what's going to happen. And I think everyone...
So they had that option as well. Not follow the policy and say, you know what? We don't want this to escalate. We'll leave. They maybe have the option to say, you know what? We expect you to come to the police station within 2 days or tomorrow. Just come over tomorrow and we'll get you through the process and blah, blah, blah. So they had the option to leave and arrest him at a different moment.
When watch the video realizes this is probably not going to end well, right? So let's think outside the box a little bit. One of the things that John and I talked about in our pre-brief was, well, you know, what if, hear me out, what if we say to her, get your stuff out the front door, go stand with the other officer out front, and we tell this guy, look, it seems like you've had a really long night, have a good one, back up to the door, walk out the door and close it, right? And then what?
Okay.
Well, then I would keep eyes on the house. I would hopefully you have an unmarked unit, somebody in plain clothes, you'd be out in the parking lot watching the place, see if the guy leaves.
Yeah, they have that option.
If he leaves, follow him around till you can do a safe felony stop. If he doesn't leave,
When he gets out, gas station, but he could be wearing a gun.
I say, then go get your warrant sworn out. Keep eyes on
Yeah,
the place.
you can do that as well. I don't think you need to keep an eye out on the place because I don't think he's going to shoot anyone. There was no reason to think that he would shoot anyone. But okay, I think this... So they both have a lot of other stuff, options that they could have...
And I would just say, I would keep a surveillance team there as long as it took for him to go out for milk, go out for coffee, go out for something, and take him down in an open space where he doesn't have an obvious...
I think the warrant would have been good. Just knock the door and say, hey, we do have a warrant.
Weapon on him, and do it that way. Because pressing the arrest in this moment... Look, if your policy, like John said, is no, you have evidence of DV, you must arrest on the spot. Hey, man, call your supervisor. Be like, can we try something else, please? Can we do something differently? Because I think everyone watching this, like I said, is aware of the fact this guy's not going to go, not tonight, not right now, not in the frame of mind he's in, not if he's drunk or under the influence of something or whatever. He's not going peacefully. It's zero chance of that happening. So let's think of another way around this so we can avoid having to be, like John says, on the national news. Tell this guy, listen, I understand you're having a bad night. I don't want to press this right now. I understand you're frustrated. We're going to get out of your hair.
If their policy doesn't allow that, that's kind of, messed up.
Here's my card. Give me a call.
Because the reality is, she's fine. She's fine. So when he says he pushed her 3 times, it's basically her not accepting to leave. I get she's on the lease. He's not allowed to push her. But if he pushed her 3 times, it means that he did not push her probably that hard. Because she went forward again and he pushed her again. Or maybe she did step back and he was like constantly pushing her, so she eventually went out of the apartment. When he's pushing you like that, it's probably best to just leave. Like after the first push, it's probably best to just leave.
Anything other than
Yeah, it's probably best to just leave.
pressing the issue. I don't know if that's something that's literally impossible with their policy.
Poor dogs.
But it's something that we should think about. If you're watching this in training and you find yourself in an intractable situation like this, in the Kobayashi Maru, that's how you say it. I'm not a big Star Trek fan. Think of another way. There's got to be another way to handle this, and that didn't happen. I think the way they...
The dogs seem older, so it's probably his dogs, I guess. If it was her dog, then she would have obviously taken the dog with her, so it's his dog. Dog lost his owner.
Handle it wasn't terrible. It's just that I'd like to see some other kind of outcome. The only way to do that, I think, is honestly back all the way out of here and either get a warrant and a SWAT team and a negotiator, or wait for them to leave the house. Anything other than this.
And I get it that our regular patrol officers, they get paid to clear calls, and they're like, no, I gotta get this guy whatever and into cuffs. Like I gotta get this guy into cuffs. But hear me, you gotta do everything you can to talk your way into those cuffs. And as soon as this guy started talking,
That's the part where they messed up. They didn't really talk him into the cuffs after he understood that they did have to put him into cuffs.
contaminated thinking because he's a little drunk. I don't know if his vape pen has some weed in it too, possibly.
Dude. Dude. If it had weed in it, it would only calm him down, dude. it would have helped.
You know, he is low emotion though. That low emotion. I don't mind dying by cop right now. I'm tired of this. I'm just done with it. If he was screaming and hollering, you know, and all agitated about things, it actually might be better and different. But the fact that he's
I don't think so. I think you're leaning too much into this calm thing. I think the calm thing, the quiet before the storm, I do believe you can reason more with him than with someone that is being aggressive.
low
So I
emotion
disagree.
means that he is capable of making decisions, and those decisions right now are not good.
He's capable of making those decisions right now are not good. Yeah, someone that is aggressive and that is willing to do the same thing, no, I disagree.
I just think that, yes, I get it. People are going to ask, you know, wait, why could we have done something different here? Well, once again, this guy, at the end of the day, he put his Chuck E. Cheese tokens in the skee ball machine, all right? So he gets the prize for the tickets. And I think that he had every vote in this as well. So from a private citizen perspective, I would like to say, man, you got to say, wait a minute, A, I'm an adult and I don't put my hands on people, especially anybody who lives with me. Domestic violence is no joke in America, and the number one vector of violence.
Also, don't scream at people.
This is statistically true. The number one vector of violence in a person's life is the adult male head of their household. Now, I hate that. And I'm the adult male head of my household. And I don't want any of my family to ever fear that I would be a vector of violence in their life. And that is up to us, men, hear me, to just say, I will never be a vector of violence in
Also, don't scream in someone's face.
anybody who lives with me is life. And I only use violence to protect the weak and the...
Not saying that you should push someone that screams in your face, but Screaming is also aggression.
Pressed when it is righteous to do so. That's our responsibility. And then from the officer's perspective, though, recognizing, hey, you know what, this is going down here, and just because it says, wait a minute, I'm supposed to make an arrest here, I need to call in more supervision, and if that supervisor wants to do something and get it done, great, but I don't want to get in a gunfight tonight, and I think given the totality, given the rifle behind him, given everything that we've got going here, I'm just going to back out of here, and I'm going to go with what makes sense in the moment to affect the right thing, and quite frankly, Mike, if that blows up in his face.
Even now, even at, like while we're watching the footage, like at this point, you do have enough time to tase him and prevent him from getting the gun. Like if you tase him now, he will turn around, he will fall. He will not have a shot on you. I think.
Go ahead and talk to the media
You're relatively close to him.
about it, and you'll have some freaking outing on that part.
I think we got our answer there. If you're
He's not aggressive.
watched the
in any way.
subtitles, I missed it the first time. He did say he was deployed overseas. He's talking about hitting things with iron sights at a certain number of meters away. So odds are this guy's is either current or former military, probably former. Which also, by the way, adds a level of danger. That means he does know what he's doing with that rifle. He can wield it effectively.
Yes, but there's, I don't know. True, he said that for that reason also to let them know, like, yeah, I am good with the gun, but if he's military, then he also followed orders and stuff like that. It's like there's two sides to it.
Actively
Maybe, I don't know.
in close quarters, he's
Maybe you ask him about his deployments. Right? Is that weird? So when he talks about deployments and you say, hey, which, like, I don't even know what they asked, but like, where were you deployed? How long? You've seen some messed up shit, right? Yeah, man. So many options to still get through to him.
maybe done it before in real life in a combat situation. Every minute that goes by, I'm watching this guy psych himself up a little bit more. When he finished his beverage there, that made me really nervous. Like there was some finality to that, and I feel like he's
When he finished his beverage there, that made me nervous. He still has his vape pen. Him finishing his beverage should not make you nervous. That's stupid.
definitely throughout this whole engagement working up the whatever you want to call it, gumption, courage, to do what he ends up doing.
We're all fucking kosher.
There's not a lot of off ramps. He's low emotion, contaminated thinking, and he's not giving them
Contaminated thinking.
a millimeter during these negotiations.
Not true. He stepped inside. When they stepped back, he closed the door halfway when they didn't do anything. So they could still move away more from him, and he would move more away from the balcony. So
He's not reciprocating anything at all.
that is not true. That this is just a lie. This is just a plain lie. He's not doing anything in return for them doing something. Like, that's not true. He walked towards them. He walked away from the gun.
He's
So that is really not true.
shutting down everything they have to say. No, he did
No, he didn't shut down moving into the apartment and closing the door halfway.
say at one point, yeah, she gets her stuff, she leaves, you guys go with her. I mean, maybe think about taking that opportunity. Now, for those of you watching through the first time, had this been a ground floor apartment, for example, well, we have some other options, right? Unfortunately, it wasn't. He's elevated, so we're not going to get people ziplining off the roof to come handle the situation. Had it been a ground floor unit, maybe something different. Maybe somebody sneaks up behind him or jumps on top of that gun, and he can't do what he ended up doing. This whole thing is just, from a former agent and police officer's perspective, this is really a worst case.
I don't know, this is just a crazy thought in my head. When you're this close to him, I would maybe try to introduce myself to him, shake his hand, call me crazy. I would say, hey dude, what's your name? And then I would put my hand, like at this moment, if the other cops have their hands up, here's one of the, man, I should have been a cop. No, I don't like being a cop, but so the de-escalation training that they can do, like I think probably that can be improved. So here's an idea. So when it's the three of you and you have two cops that have their hands on their weapons so they can easily grab their weapon and shoot if needed, maybe one cop doesn't need to put his hand on his weapon. So if you're the cop that is closest to him, the other cops are your backup. You're right-handed, you're not holding your gun. If you shake his hand, you say, what is your name? And I'm not saying when he shakes your hand, you pull him in. You could do it. You could pull him inside. something tells me that he will shake your hand, maybe. That there is a good chance that he will shake your hand because that's just my feeling. So that could have been an opportunity to just pull him in when he does that. Use your other hand, grab his arm. But just to build rapport. You want him to realize that you're not just a cop. You're also a human. You're also a person with a name, a family. I would ask him about that. Do you have any family living here nearby where you could stay? Or just, do you have any family in this city? He seems like the type of guy that will answer that question. When you bring up family, it makes them want to live more. Am I saying something very crazy?
Scenario, and again, the fact they got through as far as they did without it going south sooner speaks to their professionalism and their
Try to make jokes. Try to get him to relax a bit. Make some jokes. What type of job do you have? As soon as he says something, hey, I have a cousin working there, blah, blah, blah. Make him think about the future. Talk to him about the future so he can imagine a future. So it becomes more difficult for him to say, hey, that, like, if it's super, like, it sounds stupid, but if you somehow make him talk about the future, it makes it more difficult for him to think about death by cop.
attempts to de-escalate this guy, but like John said, you can't de-escalate someone who doesn't want to be de-escalated. All you can do is give them off-ramps and opportunities to change their pattern, to change the way they're thinking, to give them an out.
I like that tattoo, you can tell
some
him.
sort of way, and I feel like
I know that's maybe stupid.
that out might have been. And
you could talk to him about the dog. What type of dog is it?
back it out of that place. And
when he is like not super close to the weapon, you could talk about anything. Try to de-escalate things.
And letting him sleep it off and coming back with a.
One of the tactics could be to not talk about the arrest, talk about something completely different. If he talks about something completely different for long enough, then the arresting is temporarily out of his head. Like, it takes a bit of time, but if he forgets about the arrest for like 10 seconds, 30 seconds, his perspective might change.
Warrant or waiting for him to leave or whatever, that didn't happen.
And I really think, so remember in these negotiation phases, right? He's trying to get him inside the door, and the guy just doesn't want to do it. You have to, after making contact, so by making contact, it's establishing communication, and they've done that, that's done. Then you have to build rapport. And that building of rapport says, oh, okay, wait a minute.
The cop that is talking to him, the one that is in front of him, is not good at this. And while I'm talking about this, I do realize, like, I'm talking about this for so freaking long. But the guy got killed, man. Even if this video is like 5 hours long, I think it's very valid to review it in such detail.
And I have some touch points and some connections. So, officer, some ways that you can do that. Number one, use your first name. Right? Step away from I'm officer so-and-so.
Exactly. Didn't do it.
With this department.
Good point. They actually have some good points as well.
Now, secondly, is connect experiences. This guy did say, hey, I've been deployed overseas. Maybe you have. Now, like, for instance,
exactly. I forgot that he said all of this.
Says I was never in deployment.
Let's be honest. Let's just be honest. He would have done a better job. He probably, this is the part that just upsets me. He probably would have been able to get through to him because he's just more skilled in de-escalation. That to me is very clear compared to the cop that was in the lead here.
It's like that, but
so maybe you're in over your head as a cop and you have to call the sarge.
But I am a veteran. Hey, cool, man. My name's John. I'm a veteran as well. So
you probably know someone that is a veteran. My dad was a veteran, you say, or my brother or whatever. Yeah.
I get what you've seen in some capacity, though I was in the Navy, so we didn't do
He's really good at
some
this.
of those things like you're talking about. And again,
yeah, make him for just maybe a couple of seconds. If he feels like, hey, this dude seems kind of chill, that alone like puts him in a different mindset.
building some rapport. Hey, I'm on your side. She can get out, and then you guys can go with.
I've had a difficult girlfriend. My ex was crazy, dude. Maybe even lie. Like, dude, I was arrested once for pushing my ex. Maybe lie. Maybe that is a bit extreme. But you can say that you had problems with your ex. Like a lot of lying and a lot of things that you would say will be tolerated if you're trying to calm him down and not have to shoot him, right?
We're willing to do that tonight, man. I'm gonna take a couple of steps back because I don't want you to feel like I'm threatening you. So if
Take another couple of steps back so he moves more away from the gun, yeah.
if I take a few steps back and go back over here and stay at this place, would you come in and close the door? That'll make me.
Exactly. You haven't checked if that was an option. You guys still had, when we looked at the cameras just before he got shot and killed, they were relatively close to him. Even now you can see he's relatively close to him. So they had space to move back more.
Feel better, and that rapport building then starts to influence behavior.
You know what also would have helped? Like, even playing with the dog, again, it sounds crazy. Like, you have 3 cops there. You don't need all 3 to be ready to kill the guy. If one of them is kind of, playing with the dog, maybe this is too extreme, but like, it normalizes the scenario, he will be less on edge. If it's clear to him that one of the cops is not ready to shoot him, kind of sends him different signals. 2 cops are ready to shoot you, 1 is not. If the situation is really that tense, all 3 of them will be putting their hands on their gun. So sometimes just 1 cop not doing that, showing him like, hey, I trust you to not shoot me, even though your other partners have enough time to drop him if he plans to do anything. Yeah, lots of very small things you can do.
Behavior.
Lots of small things. I would maybe ask him, what are your plans for tomorrow? Do you have to go work? Do you have to go to work tomorrow? Are you off work tomorrow? If he says I have to work, then you can say, well, I don't know. I don't know how long he has to stay in jail. You don't need to keep him overnight, I think. If that is the case, then you can tell him, like, look, dude, you don't want to lose your job. You just have to come to the station with us so we can file it and everything, and then you will be processed, and then you can go back home. Yeah.
And then maybe you can talk him away from that rifle far enough and to close the door that you can have that discussion where you don't end up in a shootout. That's a long shot in this case, again.
I don't think it was a long shot, man.
With the low emotion and the non-compliance. So you got to recognize.
It was not non-compliance completely, right? He did compromise.
You're in a real spot. But perhaps you can build some rapport to start affecting behavior and then finally achieve the police outcome that you want. And I know it's going to go against a whole lot of what a lot of people think for us to say, hey, maybe you just back out of this one, go get your warrant, let the SWAT team.
If that is an option, yeah.
Or go back the next day when he's sober and talk through that with him again. Hey, man, we got to invest.
Yeah, people are in a different mindset when he just had the fight, right? So if it's the next day, he slept.
Investigate this a little bit more. So let's talk a little bit more.
Yeah, it allows you to also talk to her more. Make sure that she actually wants to press charges. Because getting pushed, you're fine.
Or you go to talk to him the next day at work, or on his lunch break, maybe not at work because you don't want to create a bigger conflict there with more people around. But man, I just was looking for a way out of this one, knowing how bad the outcome is. And here's the thing on this. That outcome was, we all saw it coming from a long way away. As soon as this guy started talking about this, you're like, oh, this.
But I think here, the reason why you saw it coming from miles away is low expectations. Because if you were put in the cop's shoes, I do believe that, I forgot his name, John Correia. I do believe that he would have been able to get through to his head. I do really believe that.
This is not going to end well, especially with him having the rifle. I do think But the officers here did a pretty darn good job, Mike. I really feel like they tried their best
Disagree.
with the skills that they have. I wish that they had
That's a very important part of that statement. With the skills that they have, they do not have the skills. That's the problem.
a little bit more rapport building. I wish that they understood that they could just back out of there and that they could think outside the box to try to solve this one differently, though I think that it was a long shot anyway we go.
No.
Yeah, I concur. And I'll say this.
You guys always concur.
Look, if you're watching this in training, take this opportunity. Go talk to your sergeant, your lieutenant, your captain. Go talk to the DA's office and say, hey, we might find ourselves in a situation. What can we do? What are our options? Being forewarned.
Oh, you would expect them to know.
Or being forearms forewarned. Something like
But
that.
yeah, no, I agree with him. Like, this is a good case for them to study.
Oh, I messed that one up royally.
Hopefully they realize this was not the desired outcome.
The idea being that this is something you've thought through already. You've had this rep, this mental rep of watching this unfold, despite their best efforts, unfold very, very poorly. I think at the end of the day,
You could practice this as well with like an actor and stuff.
these officers did the best they could under very...
Now, honestly, watching this, reviewing this, that is very interesting. To have like really good actors. They do it probably, but like this is a very interesting scenario to train them for, to see how they will react, because they should not have done the same things that these people have done.
Very trying circumstances. This is a worst case scenario call.
So when you recognize that it can happen,
I
then
do believe that there are more worst case scenario calls. Like, this is not the worst case scenario calls. The calm, saying that the calm thing is like really worse than aggressive, like I disagree.
you can do something
Even though that guy has been a
about
cop.
it. Let's do better than this. Let's try our best. Again, I don't fault these officers. I think they were justified. The officer was justified to shoot him. I think the officer was justified.
Yeah, justified, like legally, probably, yes, they will get away with it. I disagree that it was really justified, but yeah, according to the law, it's probably justified.
He used his taser on him. He was investigating a crime. That crime of domestic violence is serious. I don't have any problems with that at the end. I'm looking for a way that we could possibly have a better outcome so that officers hear me, that you don't end up on the national news, that you don't end up in a non-mandatory gunfight, that maybe you can back away from this one. I think it would have been a better way, in this case, if at all possible, to just get her with her stuff the heck out of there. Cool, man, we're going to get her out of here, get her to a friend's house. You have a nice night, and we will talk later, okay? Cool. That way we don't end up in a gun.
So see the distance. Look at the body cam top left, top right. So the female officer is a lot way back, a long way back. The couch is also in front, so she has no easy way to reach him. Those cops can easily move backwards even more. And also looking at the cop that is like, if you look at the top right, the cop that is closer to him, that's probably the cop that is like escalating things. And also saying you pushed her to the ground. Twice he made that claim. Probably realizes that that is not what he said, right? So feels a bit deliberate, like exaggerating a bit. He told him to go backwards to the book thing. He's not at the book thing. So here you can see that at this point, right before they ask him to turn around and they want to arrest him, he has stepped forward. He did not move that much back. The other cop has moved back. That one cop has not moved back that much. Yeah. He could have easily moved back the same amount of distance as the cop next to you.
Gunfight like this, and we end up having to do a debrief video on it. There are better ways.
And also at this
Let's
point,
do what we
yeah,
can to make them happen to cover our
ASP. So this was one of the most controversial videos. I don't have the dislike extension, but like if you go read let's read a couple of the comments. I've never in all my years of law enforcement seen or heard a cop trying so hard to get into a gunfight. What the fuck is the matter with these police? It's a domestic where no one was hurt. One party was peacefully allowed to collect their belongings while the other was calm and reasonable. That's a win. Take it. Leave. Actually, the big lesson for men is never move in with a woman that you've not dated for 2 or 3 years. Agreed. Immediately knew this was not ending with him going to jail. Let me see what this person is saying. I grew up in a home with domestic violence. Arresting someone for pushing someone out of the home is fucking stupid. Domestic batterers don't want their victims away from themselves. They want them close and dependent as an outlet for their own frustrations. That is true. The situation was solved. They were separated. She was safe and healthy. He's stewing by himself on the porch. Police presence was perfectly fine to ensure it remains peaceful. Then it is. Thank you. See you later. I agree. I don't know what the rules are, but pushing, really? She's fine. As a veteran and an officer, I think they could have done a better job at relating with him. He didn't have to die that night. Agreed. I guess she got what she wanted. Cops did her dirty work for her. I think it's really odd for her to not scream when he gets shot and killed. As an Afghan vet, I feel like this man needed a few hours for venting and empathy. And thank you for your service. Could start with great rapport and change his mindset. Remember, you're dealing with patriots. Use that to sway their mentality. Rest in peace. Those demons can't haunt you now, brother. There's no situation so bad that a cop can't make worse. Edward Abbey. I'm not familiar with that person. Dude was calm and collective at first. Everyone was talking peacefully and the woman was safe. So they should have really allowed him time to calm down and just leave and deal with it another time. Agreed. Man of his word, he did say he was not going to jail. As a retired cop, I really feel this was escalated by the cop. Why was he putting words in the guy's mouth? True. I'm gonna like this one. Yeah. Like he was trying to get the guy angry. Yeah. Why would you put words in his mouth? And you did it twice. The victim was smart enough to know the cop wanted him to step inside to put cuffs on him. Yeah. Agreed everything that David is saying here. So when you're asking him to step inside, like obviously he's aware that you want to cuff him. So you just need to talk about the fact that you do need to cuff him. He's not stupid. He knows what you want to do. Spurlock had just turned 26 and was a veteran of the 82nd Airborne Division of the U.S. Army, joining in 2016 according to his mother Brenda. He also reportedly suffered from PTSD and traumatic brain injuries and retired medically from service. He was in the process of getting accredited to drive trucks on military bases. He was the father of 3, the oldest being 5, and was totally dedicated to his kids. That's sad. Why was the female cop even there? Started running in the opposite direction almost instantly. She actually would have been able to connect with him better, it seemed. An army veteran at the end of his rope and a meathead cop with a huge ego shows up. Yeah, true. I agree. Does look like the cop had a huge ego. Nothing more dangerous than a broken man who feels he has nothing to lose. He has 3 kids. These cops knew what was about to happen and they still decided to press the dude. As a vet myself, I think more empathy from the cop may have gone a long way. The guy said he was overseas in firefights, seemed willing to talk. Talk to him about his service. Talk to him about his dogs, yeah. Get him to tell you his story. Meet him at a human level. Just keep him talking. Tell him this doesn't have to be the end. Would it have helped? Who knows, but it would have been something. Agreed. Remember, cops are never there to help you. They are to incriminate you. Kind of siding with the dude. Just get her out of there and be done. Arresting him for pushing her is chicken ass. Yeah, these cops have an incredible skill to distort the conversation. The situation was clearly explained a couple of times and they still keep asking the same questions. True? I think the guy was right. Cops weren't de-escalating the situation but stressing it. John, I have been a huge fan of your channel for years. And out of the hundreds of your videos I've watched and learned mountains of information from, I do not remember once disagreeing with you on anything. Until now. As you said, the cops were there on standby. The girl wasn't hurt or in any danger. She just wanted to leave. The guy just wanted her to leave. Pushing her out the door and shutting it isn't an act of violence if she doesn't have any cuts or bruises on her. He clearly wanted nothing further to do with her and had no interest in harming her. He was a vet and deserved respect that he never got. I feel like this cop is one of those everybody is a perp no matter what types and refuse to see the human inside of this. No arrest was necessary in my opinion. If anything, he could have handed him a court summons. Let the judicial system work it out. I feel like since the guy made the announcement that he would not be arrested, the cop needed to prove how tough and in control of the situation he was and make sure the guy didn't get his way. The cop's ego was in charge of the situation. We disagree on this, brother, but I agree on the saving blood of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. So you have to also admit that if someone says I'm not going to be arrested, and that is like a way of not getting arrested, that obviously will constantly be used. Like all you have to do is tell them you. But yeah, here the gun was relatively close to him. He actually seems incredibly reasonable throughout. The lady not having any reaction after hearing shots make me wonder. Me too. The guy just needed a buddy to talk to and the girl out of his life. From where he was coming from, he was calm, logical, and reasonable. What a tragedy. The cop is an idiot who let his ego escalate the situation. Suicide by cop? This was murder by cop. The man was trying to get her away from him. He wanted to be left alone. The thing that bothers me is that far too many departments, municipalities, and states have mandatory arrest policies. Yeah, agreed. That is messed up. It is way too one size fits all, especially if nobody's injured. This guy served our country and needed help. I don't think this guy is crazy at all, or not with it, or wild. He's seen more than all of us, and definitely more than these cops. All they had to do was what he said, then summon him to court over the matter, or maybe put a warrant out and go to his work, etc. This guy just stated he isn't going to jail over him pushing her out the door. He could beat her to death or did all kinds of crap to her, but he didn't. Just because this guy isn't scared of the cops or a gunfight doesn't mean he's scary. Sad situation. Hard to watch. He said he was a veteran with 2 combat tours, but he acted much more experienced. He had the calmness superpower. Notice some of the knife hand gesturing, and not only well spoken, but he used classic negotiating tactics like getting the officers to agree to small points with open palms, addressing them all, looking for sympathetic eyes to see if he should switch focus to one or the other, and making small concessions in the middle there to bump his bargaining position up a notch. The officers were way outclassed in his discussion. Troops in the 82nd Airborne are usually a cut above general, but I think he was a sergeant at least, or maybe specialty MOS. I don't think he was impaired at all. Agreed. He was talking quite rationally, didn't lose his temper like I would have, despite having to answer the same question multiple times, was well aware of his surroundings, mostly controlling the conversation, could have easily talked his way out of it if he didn't had started talking about firefights and having been able to easily pick them off if they drove up. Yeah, that was dumb. Civilians think that's crazy talk, but combat vets wouldn't think twice about it. They'd know where he was coming from and take him at his word that he's stating facts and he didn't want to shoot anyone. That is what I said as well, right? That even though it sounds unhinged and like he's just saying like I do have those skills. Yeah, I get exactly what he's saying here. I will repeat it again. They'd know where he was coming from and take him at his word that he's stating facts and didn't want to shoot anyone. Yeah. He drew a line in the sand he knew that they'd have to cross. Rest in peace, brother. So the guy could have done a lot of things better himself as well. I mean, we have to admit that also. Like, he could have prevented this by just having them arrest him. It's not the biggest thing. It's not life-ending, at least. Meanwhile, at Walmart, people are robbing the place blind and no arrest. I've seen a lot of videos of people getting arrested at Walmart, by the way. The moment you tell a cop you ain't going to jail, even if innocent, they will find a reason to get you there instantly. I don't know if that statement is forbidden. I'm no cop, but that guy was very reasonable. He drew very clear lines, and it seemed like a situation where it would have been easy to avoid a death. As a civilian, I was put in a situation to where I could help a victim of domestic violence. It was both the most scared and most clear thinking I've been that I can remember. The purple hair dye should have been a first warning. The police escalated this 100%. The poor man had zero chance. That's not true. He could have just gone to the police station. The girl had no marks. Why are they trying to arrest him for domestic assault? The fact that a lot of people are saying this and saying like it's bullshit that you're... Let me read the entire comment. Why wouldn't the police just escort her to get her belongings and leave him be? They escalate this to a shooting, trying to arrest him on some fucking bullshit charge. The fact that a lot of people are saying like, hey, you don't need to arrest him for just pushing her, that tells you, I mean, they've seen how it ended as well, right? But regardless, let's say he was arrested. They would probably still feel like you didn't need to arrest him for just pushing her, right? The fact that so many people feel like you don't have to arrest him for just pushing her out of his apartment tells you something about the odds of him thinking it's messed up that he would be arrested for something like that. A lot of people agree with him on that. So you have to take that into consideration as well. This type of behavior is destroying America. All three should go to prison for killing that veteran. That will not happen. The fact that the woman in this video isn't screaming as usual, but seems to be trying to get the dog's attention as her ex gets himself shot is telling. Yeah, I think that is kind of weird. Man, if a domestic violence requires an arrest, they need to really reassess this law, because this is a case where it got someone killed. Terrible outcome. I've been around a lot of mentally ill people. The guy's entire demeanor and speech was clear, and he was suffering a great deal. May God rest his soul. 8 minutes in, and I'm already rooting for this guy. The cop could have simply handed him a summons and leave him in peace. He started out saying, I'm not going to jail tonight. He's smart enough to know that the only reason the cops are insistent about him coming inside and closing the door behind him is so that they can effect an arrest. True, since his level of violence towards the female was pretty low, he didn't hit her, just push her out the door. They should have backed out, left with the female, and gotten a warrant to serve the next day, when he's more likely sober, or if he left the apartment that night. True. I learned so much. Never talk to cops without a lawyer present. Never open your door, but they opened the door. She had a key, I guess. The officer flat out put words in his mouth. That is true. Multiple times. The way the dog keeps hopping on the couch to check on his owner. Yeah. Right to remain silent. Yes, dude. Yes. Yes. Use it. Right to remain silent. Use it. The fact that he said that he pushed her. Don't say anything. But realize that you could still get arrested. But don't say anything. When he said I pushed her, that is when he gave them probable cause. You have the right to remain silent, man. Grown men being treated as children in their own home. The cops messed up significantly by continuing to pressure this guy while he was clearly angry and probably high or drunk. I don't think he was drunk. He should have been given a court summons, yeah. Y'all said he didn't give an inch towards complying, but he did. Yeah, true. He stepped inside, he closed the door halfway, he talked reasonably, rationally, and calmly. This could have been handled differently if the officer backed off his ego a bit. There were multiple instances that a takedown could have occurred. Agreed as well on that one. With less than lethal means as well. Yeah. When he grabbed the screen door and somewhat lost his stability, he could have been tased or tackled. True. While he was closing the door, he could have been tackled or tased. True. The officer was pissed about his initial statement, that he wasn't afraid of gunfight, and that his ego and emotions decide where this went. Yeah. I agree with that one. The police did not know how to level the situation. True. Even though their questions... They escalated the situation with a drunk man who was sitting quietly in his house, and that distraught woman specifically called the police as revenge. She had a key, so she was grabbing her stuff, and she was afraid. No. If they didn't try to arrest him, just left, yeah, he would still be alive. There was no reason for the police to demand an arrest. Yeah, this is maybe one of those cases where it's mandatory. This is why you should not cohabitate, and this is why you should vet out the people you choose to have any relationship with, friends or lovers. Maybe, just maybe, and I'm speculating here, but maybe instead of trying to arrest the guy, you just help her get her stuff and leave, which was the supposed intent of the trip. The cops were more focused on getting him to admit to a crime. They could arrest him for it and getting her stuff. The cops escalated the situation. Just sad, feel for the guys. Nothing was worth dying over. I feel the cops themselves used poor judgment in this situation. I feel like they could have written him a citation, told him that they weren't going to arrest him, and requested to take the rifle for a cool-down period and that he could pick it up tomorrow. That he would not probably agree with that. Without the gun, he's not a threat to anyone. That is true. Yeah, true. Yeah, that is true. If you would say, I mean, he would probably take your word. If you would say, listen, go into the balcony and then move left, move away from the gun, allow us to grab the gun, we will take the gun, and then just come to the police station tomorrow. But at least you don't know how many other guns he has, right? I'm going to preface this with domestic violence is never okay. That's it, guys. You were extremely lenient on these cops. It took 2.5 minutes into the video before I started getting feeling, and by 2:45, and definitely by 3, it was already apparent this guy wasn't leaving without a gunfight. I had a mental, oh shit, this is going to end well. Throughout that point, I'm just a civilian. I picked up on that pretty quickly. These cops could have saved a life if they backed out, like Mike mentioned, and kept the car in the house until the guy messes up, or until morning when he's sober, when he's not by his rifle. The cops are 100% responsible for this one. They didn't need to keep pushing. He had a right to have a rifle there. This stuff makes me irate because she was already leaving. Lots of people saying just let her leave. He already made his mind up before any words were exchanged. So we have one person here. This is the problem with law saying on domestic call someone has to go to jail. Yeah, man, I could tell by his calm demeanor that dude was just over everything at that point. He didn't care anymore and therefore forfeited his life at the expense of drama with a girl he barely met. So I think out of all the comments I read now, like we're gonna read all comments. We're almost through. There's only like 4 or 5 comments that say they couldn't. It's the guy's fault. Cops were out of line in this situation. Guy said that the cops were the ones escalating the domestic situation. True, cops definitely should have backed down and arrested the guy at a later date. Cops forced the issue. Could have been prevented. Only halfway through, but my heart is pounding. I can see the main badge cam officer's hand shaking, but he's keeping cool. Has to be tense as fuck. He just didn't give a fuck anymore. I don't know why you guys said that they did a good job when the cops escalated the situation by misinterpreting what he said. He never said shoot out with cops or shooting a cop, but the cops kept putting words in his mouth. He said he's okay with death by cop if needed, something like that. If he really wanted to have a shootout with the cops, he would have done it while they were outside. So I think this person is not getting it. So yeah, he didn't want to just kill the cops. He didn't want a shootout with the cops. He didn't want to go to jail. And he said, well, if you guys try to bring me to jail, try to arrest me, I'm okay with death by cop. That's what he said. Not exactly those words, but it boils down to that. Like, if you try to arrest me, I will shoot. You can't arrest me. I'm not allowing that. I'd rather die. That's basically it. So, like, if you would have asked him, what do you want? Us to try to arrest you so you would die? Like, no, he didn't want that. But if it had to happen, if they would try to arrest him, he would have done it. Which happened. The officer was in a no-win situation in this case. Doesn't seem right that they escalated the situation for him pushing her. It sounds like she wanted to leave anyway, and she might have set the boyfriend up to be arrested. They could have escorted the woman out and told him to stay away from each other, which is done in many cases. It seemed like the cop always expect to shoot that guy. Yeah, okay. The no-win situation, I don't really completely get. I mean, the win here is for it to not escalate and nobody to die. The cops wanted to arrest him so she could stay there at that night. Period. Is that it? Could that have played a role? Like, you need to get out, we want her to stay here? I don't know. It's a bit of a reach, but I don't know. We don't know. Did you come to escalate the situation so she could shoot him? Did you come to assist her to get her things? Did she really need to take things then? Couldn't wait until the second day. Great analysis from you two. So this is the first real compliment really towards the commentary. Why did the cop think it was necessary to establish the exact nature of the push? Agreed. If you're fishing for information to determine if you have to arrest him, then you, based on what he said, then you have the option to not arrest him, right? If all he did was just push her out of the apartment, not towards the ground, if that is enough, you're asking more and more questions, but you decided to arrest him. Are you arresting him now because of that push or the other stuff? Officially, it's because of that push, right? So you're asking for more information, but he basically confirmed that he did the lowest level of violence because he didn't even push her to the ground. If you're fishing for more information, you'd think you're trying to do that to determine if you need to arrest him or not. How come you still went and arrested him? I'd assume he'd be more interested in making sure things don't escalate, given that it's a domestic dispute and the guy has access to a weapon. Maybe focus on getting the woman out there first. True, you probably want to get the woman out there first, and then handle the rest from there if she decides to file charges. I can imagine, I think this is an interesting comment. I can imagine that if maybe she's not in the apartment, he will calm down a bit more. Maybe he's just pissed with the fact that she is in the apartment and she also called the cops and the cops are there now as well. Maybe it would have been better to have her stay outside of the apartment. Damn him for giving them no choice, and damn the cops for pushing. One of the few videos I've seen that genuinely breaks my heart to watch. If the girlfriend had no injuries and didn't want to press charges, then there shouldn't be a need to arrest. Agreed. Just not sure if that works in that area in Florida. I don't know if this was Florida. At the same time, they should have let him arrest him at his job the next day. Purple hair was a warning. Poor guy got screwed over by a nasty 304. I don't know what a 304 is. Is that the gun? I don't think pushing a girl is a capital offense. There's no situation a cop can't make worse. I would have done this differently and even break policy in the process. Yeah. Sometimes I think if you can prevent having to kill someone, maybe you sometimes have to break policy. I would have escorted the girl out, let the guy cool down for a few hours, and come back and take him into custody. The problem with coming back and taking him into custody is that you don't have the advantage of him you don't know if he's with his gun in his hand behind the door. So that's probably one of the reasons why they want to arrest him at that moment. They know if they come back that he could shoot them through the door. Like, they're not prepared, you know? But agreed, if you try to arrest him when it's like daylight, chances of him being, in that mode is probably lower. But yeah, I agree. Walking away here would have been better, even without the gun. I don't think they should have been worried that he would shoot them from the balcony. I don't think so. And if you're really worried, you can walk backwards. Probably still don't have a good chance. I shouldn't laugh. Relationship broke this man. His mind was made up the moment he saw the cops pulling up. I'm not going jail tonight. That's what rifle's there. That's why that rifle is there. Yeah, that is what he said. The cops escalated the situation. The officer wanted to shoot him from the beginning. I don't know. It seems like the cop was escalating to me. He spent a lot of time on the, so you pushed her and she fell? Yeah, he said pushed her to the ground, which is not what he said. And the 7th time, that's not de-escalation. Why not just let her get her things and go? If charges need to be pressed, come back later or get him in the parking lot. We have a couple of more. Oh, it keeps going? Oh yeah, it does keep going. I thought I was almost done. All right, maybe we're not going to read all of them. Let me read this one. 5 days ago. It still has some traction. I respectfully disagree to a point. The lead officer was asking very clear leading questions that was pretty obvious to the victim. The only de-escalation that was occurring was on the victim's part. There are, however, many factors at play here. How about saying, hey man, we're just here to get her stuff. Make some form of small talk. Ask about his service, especially if you were a veteran. Don't make every damn statement you make an attempt to dig a hole for the man while making it very obvious, yeah. He knew they weren't going to leave. He also knew the deck was stacked against him. Someone here says, the question I have to ask is, was anyone in immediate danger? And if not, why was it necessary to try to take him into custody? As you can see or hear, pretty much everyone agrees that it didn't have to happen. Here someone says, they didn't try to de-escalate. 18 minutes, 2 seconds. I don't know if he's ex-military or not. Yeah, I didn't watch the video clearly. Yeah, he does correct himself at the end of the video. All the cops did was do anything to arrest him. Egos made them want to take him down a peg. I think one cop really wanted to make that arrest. It was the cop that was talking with him the most. And I think when he was not getting through to him, like one of the other cops should have probably tried to talk to him. The cop felt either none of them are veterans. So they responded to this one. If you're having trouble with someone in a relation, and you're with someone you're in a relationship with, don't drink. Do not complicate the situation with alcohol or drugs. If you had stayed sober, their argument most likely wouldn't have escalated from a verbal conflict to a physical conflict. That is quite the assumption there, Tim. Sorry. You don't know if he grabbed a drink after the fight. You don't know. You're making assumptions here. Agree that you probably shouldn't drink when you're, having a fight or whatever, but you don't know if he drank when that happened, before that happened. So we don't know. If a physical conflict hadn't happened, the cop wouldn't be forced to arrest him, and he wouldn't have back. Yeah, okay, Captain Hindsight. Well, the reaction he got was, "Well, you're not wrong. There's nothing immoral about having a drink after a day of work, but if it makes you violent, there is." True, but we don't know if he was drinking when it happened. We don't know. Speculation. Here someone says, unpopular opinion. Let me end with the unpopular opinion, and I will read the comments as well. Obviously, both her and him were guilty since she knows him and how serious he was. Why risk the freaking cops' lives, your own and his, for some stupid ass belongings? So he's saying, why call the cops when you know this could be a risk of him getting killed? Well, that's why some people say that she didn't care. What was so important you had to have before you left? Yeah, the fact that she screamed at him. She's probably not the easiest person, because now he's dead and that cop has to live with good or bad taking that man's life. I don't think the cop that shot, if it's the cop that was like closest to him, I don't know. It seemed like he really wanted to. If I knew my partner was suffering, that's just my opinion. Like a lot of comments are pointing this out, but yeah, like he wanted to be the one that is talking him into the arrest, and he was doing a bad job. Sorry. If my partner was suffering, I would have been the bigger person and just left, avoiding conflict. Yeah, true. Probably. She knew he had a rifle and brought the police right up in there, knowing what would happen. We don't know if she knew what would happen, but yeah, she probably should know that he has a gun. He needed help, but to me it seemed like she was too concerned with whatever over a human life. The fact that she didn't end up screaming when he was killed is really weird to me. Alright guys, this was a difficult one to watch, but I wanted to provide some commentary. I've been streaming for a while now. I'll catch you next time. If you enjoyed this commentary, let me know. Don't forget to subscribe. If you have any videos that you want me to review, feel free to share them in the comments. And